As many of you may know, Kevin Porter Jr. is facing some pretty serious legal problems over his most recent controversy, one in a long line of controversies that have followed him around before he was even on an NBA roster, as he was suspended from USC for quote, personal conduct issues, with the exact reasons still being unknown. And all of this is a shame because the guy does have a true talent and a real potential in this league, but it's starting to seem like he's his own worst enemy at this point. Kevin Porter Jr.'s NBA journey began when he was taken with the last pick in the first round of the 2019 draft by the Bucks, who traded his rights to the Pistons, who then flipped him again for 4 second-round picks, sending KPJ to the Cavs. And that's where he would get off to a pretty solid start, averaging 10, 3, and 2 on only 23 minutes of play. During his rookie season, he was resorting to a lot of drives to the basket, taking the majority of his shots at the rim, but he was a pretty effective finisher, shooting around 72% around the rim, which is really good, especially for a rookie. And when you consider the fact that when he didn't have the ball in his hands, he was mostly being used as a kick-out three-point specialist, it's kind of understandable why he would take advantage and go to his bread and butter to make sure that he got his looks. I mean, you gotta remember, this was the same Cavs team that made people question if Colin Sexton was a future All-Star or not, so it really was a hectic environment. And unfortunately, come the offseason, things wouldn't get any better for KPJ, as he was accused in August of 2020 of punching a girl in the face at a Cleveland condo complex after his sister had gotten into a fight with 2 other women. Many people at the time defended KPJ by saying that he was just defending his family, but either way, charges were never pressed and both parties went their separate ways, which meant that KPJ could get back to focusing on the upcoming season, which thanks to a worldwide pandemic was pushed back until December, which in theory should have given him more time to prepare, but instead he found himself wrapped up in more legal issues, as on November 15th, only a month before the season was set to start, he was arrested after flipping his SUV on a Cleveland interstate, where cops would also find a gun and a bag of weed. They tried to charge him with mishandling of a firearm and marijuana possession and driving without a license, but the grand jury declined to indict KPJ as he was able to prove that he had no idea that the gun was in the car. And shortly after that, the judge dismissed the other charges. So KPJ was free and able to play, as all of the charges were dropped before the beginning of the season, but he chose to sit out for personal reasons at the beginning of that season. It wasn't clear how long he was going to be out for, but slowly the Cavs would keep a tight lip when it came to KPJ, not giving fans or media any updates, until one day that it was reported there was major trouble coming out of the Cavs locker room, with KPJ being at the center of it all. It was reported that upon return to the team, KPJ found that his locker had been moved, at which point he got pretty heated and reportedly started flinging food around the room like it was a Hollywood high school cafeteria food fight. And this was the final straw for the Cavs, with reports coming out that their relationship was either going to end in a release or a trade, and only 3 days after the incident, the Cavs got their wish, trading him to the Rockets for just one single second-round pick. All of this after being so enamored over KPJ that they gave away 4 second-round picks only 2 years ago. But the Cavs knew the risk when they made that trade on draft night in 2020. He was going to be trouble, but the pure talent that he displays is hard to deny, something that the Rockets would soon become very familiar with.
It didn't take long for Porter Jr. to fall into his old habits, as pretty soon into his tenure on the Rockets, Porter Jr. had allegedly smashed a DJ's laptop during a team gathering at a club, and apparently, quote, started tearing the place up before needing to be removed from the venue by the team. Sure, this is extremely antisocial behavior and was a definite red flag, but he was still only 21 at the time, so it's tough to blame the Rockets for sticking it out with him after this, given just how much promise he had been showing when focused on the game. But soon after this, Kevin Porter Jr. found himself in another situation where he and a few teammates broke COVID protocols to head to a gentleman's club in Miami. On its own, this would be pretty bad, as it was basically at the height of the COVID scare. However, it only gets worse. As Porter's teammate at the time, Sterling Brown had found himself being jumped by a group of people while exiting the club in the early hours of the morning, leading to a brawl involving, you guessed it, Kevin Porter Jr. Honestly, props to KPJ for sticking up for his teammates and maybe even saving Sterling Brown's life, as it seems he actually got messed up pretty bad. However, this night was terrible for KPJ's professional image. For a while, the incidents were away from the court, which was somewhat promising, but this would change pretty quick, as Porter Jr. found himself embroiled in a heated altercation with a member of his team's leadership for the second time within a year. Reports suggest that Porter became upset when Houston Rockets assistant coach John Lucas criticized him during a halftime break against the Nuggets. In response, Porter reportedly tossed an object and had to be physically separated from Lucas. He eventually left the arena prematurely, driving home during the middle of the game. Given all that's happened, it's pretty amazing that by this point he wasn't gone from the league, but it goes to show you how many chances NBA teams are willing to give people who show legitimate talent. And for a bit, Porter Jr. actually seemed to be on the upswing until his recently highly publicized assault incident involving his girlfriend. While the details are a bit murky, with even the girlfriend's attorney saying that some of the allegations aren't true, it still doesn't look good for Porter Jr. This definitely represents the most severe of Porter Jr.'s troubles to date. In the days ahead, more information will undoubtedly emerge regarding this matter, shedding light on what legal actions may be taken against Porter Jr. Furthermore, the NBA's stance on this issue remains to be seen. Ultimately, Porter Jr. may even face expulsion from the league as a consequence of his actions. Of course, the NBA has shown leniency to people like Miles Bridges in the recent past. So if this is his final screw-up, we could expect to see KPJ back in the NBA sometime in the future. Ultimately, Kevin Porter Jr. seems to be an extremely reckless individual with a long list of decisions that should never have been made. It sucks to see his talent wasted, but overall the best thing for him and everyone around him will be to take some time off and develop some maturity. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to us, and we'll see you next week.